Yay! Hello, 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 and welcome to the long game. I have a question for you before we dive into today's episode that you do not want to miss. Make sure to share this out because other people are going to need to hear it too. But when is the last time that you said yes to something just because you felt obligated to, instead of saying what you really wanted to, which is nope? Today's show is for you, and we have the perfect guest on for today's show to talk about the power of saying nope and how to build relationships in the process while you say nope. If we've not met before, hey, hello, hello. My name is Jessika Suter, Relationship Marketing Jessika, and this is the first rendition of The Long Game. So excited. It's where we dig into what truly lasts in business and in leadership. And I have the perfect co-host with me today, Jeremy Knauff. He is a PR genius, king of PR. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks for being here. Well, thanks for us being here, I guess. We had a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff we've been putting together to make this thing a reality.
Absolutely. And our guest for today is the one and only Michael King. He is a phenomenal speaker, one of our favorites at Social Media Week Lima, and he's here to unpack today's episode where we're talking all about boundaries, brand identity, and relationships worth saying yes to, but also, more importantly, how you can also say nope. Welcome, Michael.
Nope. Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you so much. So good. So good. What a great way to spend our Tuesday. So let's go. And
let's go.
George.
Let's dive right into it. So, Michael, I know I've heard you speak at Social Media Week Lima. George, of course, did. I know you coach Fortune 500 companies all across the US and beyond, and you're teaching them the art of saying no, where I struggle with it. I don't know if it's just me. Sometimes I feel guilty for saying no, or I'm going to miss an opportunity. But you talk about a lot about the power of having a personal brand and how real leaders don't build personas, they build trust. Why do you think that message is more important than ever before right now?
You know, let's just blame everything on AI. Can we just do that? Can we just let's just say today's thing is all about saying no to it. No, let's not do that. But I do think that when we think about just the scope of relationships, when it comes to emotional proximity, when it comes to just even emotional efficacy within organizations, there's a couple things that can't scale. Bandwidth can't scale, but also like relational proximity values. Those can't necessarily scale. It's really hard. Like that connection between authenticity and that one-on-one connection between people. And here's what's hard about the AI conversation in the middle of it. So to answer your question, I think a lot of the reasons why we're having some difficulty in 2025, it's different than what it was in 2022 and 2021, because we want to go faster. We want to raise our expectations, and we want to integrate in a tool that is still fairly unknown. It's still pretty new, right? And but we don't necessarily. We want to get bigger and badder results. Badder is a good term, right? We want to get crazier results, optimized results, exponential results out of the same group of people. In fact, in most situations, we actually want our teams to become smaller and better just by us simply implementing this tool. So the complications and the lagging effects, the things that are happening as a result of the big cultural shifts within corporations and organizations is huge. So that's one of the reasons. That's not everything. I mean, there's a lot of cultural things that are happening around our world when it comes to politics and socioeconomic things as well. But that's the big thing that we're seeing right now, is that authenticity is the true north. Like that, this is what people want. What they want. This is what they desire. And it's hard to even see on social platforms what's real and what's not. So that's kind of where I'm at today.
I'll throw a question out for you on that. You talked a lot about authenticity. I see a lot of people lean heavy into AI in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And that damages their authenticity, because where I see most people using it is creating content. And then it's just dry, soulless drivel that they're putting out there.
Yeah.
So, what thoughts do you have about using AI effectively and still keeping that brand authenticity?
I think there's things that you can use AI for, like when it comes to administrative tasks, when it comes to even optimizing some of your copy, but not all of your copy. I think, again, when we think about the benefits and even maybe some of the lagging indicators of AI, it is still garbage in and garbage out. So if you put in great content into AI and it's authentic and it's real, and you're using AI to be able to shore up your storytelling, making it a little bit more impactful, making sure that the hook is strong at the top. There's some formulaic approaches to be able to make sure that your content has a greater impact. But if you're using AI to create your identity, you're going to immediately fail. Like, you're going to find a cheapened version. What is it? What's the I can't remember the name of the Amazon company that's kind of like where people get a bunch of cheap stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Temu.
Yeah. You're going to get a Temu version of yourself if you're using AI to steer your identity instead of actually being honest and real and raw and transparent, and allowing people to see the real you. But you could see some great results as far as like optimizing your content, because like, let's face it, like if you had in your pocket, if you had the ability to be a Pulitzer award-winning writer, to be able to look through that lens as a copy editor, by all means, figure it out, go for it. But don't allow AI to determine who you are.
I love 100%.
That. Jeremy and I know about that. We spoke on a panel at the Innovate Summit together. That's kind of how this all got started. And we were talking about how to add relationships in a world of AI. And one of the things I said, I was like, which would you rather have? Like a mass produced card or something that is custom made just for you? Like, what's going to be more memorable, right? Like how can you show up to build relationships with people in a way that's meaningful and authentic to you, that's really going to stand out, because that can't be replicated. Like, AI does not have feelings. I know this because too, my husband and I actually had our phones sit next to each other, and we're like trying to get our AIs to go out on a date and see if they can pick up.
Yes.
And just to see what it would do, right? Like, so some things cannot be replicated, like the human emotion of, what we're trying to do in business. So when you go back to this thing for somebody saying, how do you balance this, authenticity and professionalism, and how can they show up with their true self, feeling like they're not like oversharing, or if they're leaning too heavy into the personal side? Is there such a thing? Like, how do you balance that then?
I don't know. No, I mean, so I was I had a keynote opportunity in the Black Hills a couple weeks ago. And it was a great group of leaders that I was with. And then afterwards, I came and I sat on this panel, and one of the other speakers. So I gave a little bit of my story and kind of talked about, like the traumatic of rebuilding through the ashes and trying to figure out how to pull my life back together after ministry and some of that stuff. And I don't say that stuff lightly, because again, like there's way bigger problems in the world than what I've experienced with my life. I'm incredibly lucky and blessed. But this other speaker, like, they were sitting right next to me, and they said this. They said we obviously have a completely different value set as far as what we should communicate from the stage. I personally don't believe that we should be airing our dirty laundry on the stage. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, was that like did she just take a pot shot at me? Like, I'm like sitting right here. Like, are you? But she really wasn't. She was just kind of saying what she, and I would agree with that. But I think when it comes to this, is that I think social media has gotten a bad rap for only playing the highlight reels of people,
100%.
And as a coach, like when I'm working with people on their brand specifically, I believe this is that number one is that whatever you make visible is what you replicate.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're looking at, if you want to have a client list that's full of fake people, that's full of imposters, if you're looking at people that you're not going to find truth in there, okay, you do that. Like, you be that, and you throw that out to the universe, and guess what? It's going to come right back at you. Even in how you treat your relationships within the business community, man, whatever you throw out is what you're getting back. If you're going to be a fraud, guess what? It's going to come right back at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also in the same way is that whoever tells the best story always wins. So you have to find that balance between, and also too, you'll find your niche within your audience, within your social network. I've noticed that the things that we put out on Facebook and the stories that we tell on Facebook, people want an engagement in an emotional story on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want that stuff on LinkedIn. They're like, give me your nugget of greatness and get off my feed, So
That Facebook mindset seems to be growing over there on LinkedIn too, though, lately. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that cringy engagement bait type of stuff over there.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that too.
Yeah. You got a facet to your brand that I think is kind of fascinating. We were talking about before backstage, where, as you're kind of talking about this authenticity and bringing your personal story into things, why don't you talk for a minute about how you've kind of brought together the music side of your background with the business side of your brand? Because I think that's incredibly valuable. And to me, it highlights an effective use of kind of bringing your personal side into the business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for that opportunity too. I think everybody has kind of been here and done that type of thing, by the way. So I think that when you're trying to build something, especially when you're starting out, you're looking at the playbooks of what works for other people. And if you're not careful, the next thing that you're going to do is create the Temu version of Mark Cuban, or you know what I mean? Or Gary Vaynerchuk or something like that, which there's something specific that Jessika does better than anyone else. And I promise you this too, Jeremy, that there's something specific that you do better than anyone else. And are you able to be honest about it and embrace it and kind of figure out where that fits into your universe? Now, for me, my path went from recording artist to executive pastor and worship pastor in a church, full-blown meltdown and burnout, all this stuff. And I kind of felt like when I started my coaching journey out of this, now I've been coaching leaders even when I was in the church world. And so the gap of leading into full-time working with companies and working with leaders and coaches and consultants, etc., is I kind of like, it was such a traumatic experience when I left the church world that I kind of felt like I had to let music die. Like that somehow in it, I was being punished and I wasn't allowed to ever think about being a musician ever again, even though it's the thing that fueled my soul. And so I walked away from it for over 5 years. I couldn't even look at a guitar or a piano or anything without having a little bit of PTSD. In fact, I haven't really said this to anybody, but like my first month out of ministry, I actually had to sell like a high level collector's edition guitar just to pay my mortgage. And, and so for me of like, I flirted with music a little bit, kind of getting back into it, but I just didn't feel my heart was connected to it. And I just kind of was like, maybe we need to let that die. Maybe that's just in the past. I'm just going to go ahead and allow that to be. My creative director comes on our team earlier this year, and he was like, bro, man, like the thing is that there's 4.2 million people that call themselves coaches around the globe. You're probably only, I don't know of any other coaches that are actually a legitimate recording artist and creative. Why don't we combine these two things so you have something that differentiates you? Because and we've been saying this for a long time, being smart is not your differentiator in your business.
No.
Like we can fabricate that, but we can't fabricate you. Like there's only something. So we decided, okay, great. Let's get creative with this. How can we actually do this thing? And so we started off, well, actually it was a little bit before my keynote with Social Media Week Lima. And we're like, okay, we're going to produce up all of our keynotes that are going to have these creative, emotional moments. And we're going to put we're going to have emotional musical scores behind every single point. Like, it's going to be a really well-produced experience. And keynote after keynote after keynote had some sort of really big emotional response to it. And I'm like, okay, like, we're onto something here. Last month,
and people crying.
it was,
yeah,
it was powerful. And
Mhm.
and some of the people that I met in Lima have become really good friends. Like, they've,
Mhm.
I mean, not fake friends, but like real friends. Like, hey,
Mhm.
next time you're in town, I want you to come to my house. I want to invite you to dinner.
Mhm.
Like, I'm telling you, like, being a leader in an organization or in life in general, it's a lonely place. And so when you have those opportunities where people are willing to become friends, like, let's go, let's do that. That's
Mhm.
great. But then as a result, I kind of came back and was like, okay, I have a vision for this. We're going to create our own genre in which we're going to produce mini films that are going to kind of create a micro keynote experience in which we're going to take original music and combine it with like a micro keynote type of thing. We're going to try to keep it under 5 minutes, and let's do this. So last month we released this thing called The Sound of Leadership. And it was me sitting in this abandoned chapel in the middle of the country, like a church, playing my saxophone and then talking about how the saxophone, there's 175 different moving components of the saxophone. And just like your organization, like, you have to know what buttons to push in order to get music to play out of your organization, out of your horn. Right.
Mhm.
And this thing it performed really well. Like, it got spread. I
Awesome.
think we're up to about 20,000 views on this in a month, which is pretty good for a leadership piece of content on YouTube. And then so today, actually, in partnership with the music industry, we launched our first radio single. It's been picked up by 428 radio stations across the country, a full-blown single. And the film went live today as well. So that kind of combines that whole thing of like, here's part of the song, here's a little bit of a keynote, how do we bring it together? And so we're doing this like every month. We're dropping pieces of this type of approach. And it's, so for me, it's therapeutic and life-giving. And it's like, I told my team, I'm like, I don't even care if this works. I don't care at all. Like, this is so enjoyable to create something that I don't think has ever been done. Like, I haven't seen this done yet. And
That's awesome.
so there you go.
I love that. And I love how it ties back to what you were talking about authenticity. Because if you had just been up here putting out what you thought everybody else wanted to see and hear, none of those connections would have come about.
It's so much more memorable too, right? And it just gives, when you were talking about the AI too, even more reason of how we have to show up with having like our own internal manifesto, if you will, right? Like, mine's behind me: love more, give more, be more. Like, how you want to show up and do business differently, because as you mentioned, there's how many coaches out there?
4.2 million, and only 3% of that is actually considered legitimate, by the way. Just throw that out there.
Just so you know, with that, but you're memorable and people can connect with your story. When we were talking about, do you share your story or not? And how much do you show up? Like, when somebody can emotionally connect and be like, oh, you get me. And you also give me permission because you're sharing your nuggets of, hey, the failures and the successes, and you're showing up in an authentic way, because I think people can smell when people are fake. Like, you can tell it, you can feel it, you get the vibe from that. Like you said, you get back what you put out. People can tell that. So one great way to stand out, and why I feel like you've grown so much in a short amount of time with like your music that you just dropped, is because people know that you're real. It can't be replicated by AI. It can't be replicated by somebody else that says that they're a coach, not in the way that you do it. With your permission, I would love to share the link with everybody that's tuning in and watching too, and having in the recap of that preview video, if
Go
we have
for it.
your
Yeah,
permission.
I'd be honored. Thank you so much.
It's so good, you guys. If you've not signed up already, you can go to nowmarketinggroup.com/the long game. I'll drop the link in here. Sign up so you make sure you get this replay, and you'll be able to see what he's talking about. Not only see it, hear it. It's amazing. It's a video where he's performing his single as well as having that nugget at the end that's going to empower leaders and all of us to want to do more. So tying the two together and blending it, I'll also drop the link into his Social Media Week Lima presentation, The Power of Nope, because yeah, it was powerful. And you did make lifelong friends out of that, me being one of them. So excited to have you back next year with that. So let me know if you guys have any questions as well for Michael while we have him here for another 10 minutes. But Michael, what would you say while we're waiting for questions is one of your biggest leadership lessons as it relates to saying nope? Like, what gives us permission to say nope?
Well, I think if you embrace the idea that one of the things that can't be scalable is your bandwidth. Like there's only so much that can actually go into your day. And, one of the things that I talk to my clients about consistently is making sure that they're identifying the 3 buckets that they have to have active in their decision-making mechanisms. Okay, what gets your now energy, which we're going to be talking about that a little bit with the Unleashed theme coming up next year of like, last year we talked about the power of the nope, but next year we're going to talk about the power of the now and like embracing the power of being unleashed. Right. So you got me excited already talking about it. It's like, so let's go. But these 3 buckets, right. And we don't think about it often because what ends up happening is that sometimes we take and we put everything into the now bucket. And that's what causes anxiety. That's what causes failure. That's what causes burnout. That's what causes like imposter syndrome. There's all these things that happens when you put things into your now bucket when they should either be going into your next bucket or your nope bucket. And so when you think about that, well, why do we do it that way? It's because like me personally, I live every single day recognizing that everybody around me wants to be in that now bucket. They want priority in the relationship. They want priority in projects. They want priorities in tasks. They want, you get what I'm saying? Everything is urgent until nothing is urgent anymore. And so you just have to be aware of that. You have to be aware that there are some things, only about 15% of any decision that you make should be going into your now bucket and protecting that now energy and that priority. But everything else should either be delayed and put into your next season or identifying key things that are going on in your life that aren't meant for you. Like, for example, relationships. You are the average of the 5 loudest voices in your life. Do an audit on that regularly. Say no to anybody who isn't what you want to become. Just say no. Did I just pull Nancy Reagan out of nowhere? It's like, just say no.
Is this the war on yes?
And then also too, like, so really relationships, but then also recognizing the things that you're great at versus the things that you're not great at. Like, be honest with yourself. And, there are some things that are just meant for other people, but the sooner that you can get in touch with the idea that there are specific things that you do better than anyone else and really trying to focus your energy into giving dedication to those things. And if it's not in your lane, like, be humble, admit it, like, pull people in, collaborate, allow some other people to run the race. But I mean, especially right now, people are trying to solopreneur everything. And you just got to expand your team because structure is always a gateway to great strategy. Remember that.
I think a lot of people are, go ahead, Jess.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people are falling into that trap more now than they have recently because of this bullshit around AI. And they're like, oh, well, I can just use AI and do, all the work and have all the time left over still. So what thoughts do you have around kind of deciding what goes in your now bucket? And then how do we decide, where to use AI in this part of the equation, in the, what is it, now, later, and nope?
Yeah. Now, next, and nope. But if you think about this, for example, the things that should go into that now bucket are the things that that you're going to get a return on. There's like almost 0% chance of failure. But you have to know what those things are. So for example, small businesses. So if you're running a small business, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're a marketer, or even in that lane, recognizing that your next client, almost like as a songwriter, people would ask me this all the time. Hey, what is the best song that you've ever written? It's always the next one, right? What's the best client that you've ever had? It's always the next one, right? But where do we find those people? Well, you have to understand this. So if 90%, we're not talking like, we're not talking 10%, 20%. We're literally talking 90% of your lead gen coming from the stages that you speak on, the relationships that you already have, and the referrals that they make. Those top 3 things. So I can guarantee you that. Put that into your now bucket and try to commit to it. Okay, great. I'm going to spend a majority of my time in the now bucket, the stages that I speak on, the rooms that I'm in, the relationships that I have, and the referrals that they make. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
The other part is the voices that are around you. This is the thing that will slow you down. This is the thing that will either amplify you or it will destroy you. And I was just on an executive coaching call with a pretty high level leader earlier today. And I was shocked. He comes into his coaching session and his eyes are bloodshot and it looks like that he wants to punch a wall. And I'm like, I'll just call him Barry for the sake, because everybody likes the name Barry. Let's just call him Barry, right? But I said to him, I was like, man, how can I serve you today? It looks like you're a little bit. And he started to tell me, like, even after he's like in his 60s, but even after all this time, he still has an abusive relationship with his father. And the things that this guy speaks into his life is absolutely damning and destroying. And this has been something that for a while we've been talking about. At some point in time, you need to say no to that relationship. Even though it's painful, I promise you the next season is going to be better if you have the ability to say no and not be abused. So,
yeah,
there's that.
That's good. That's really good advice. I mean, I feel like this was years ago, but firing a client that was not the right client was like the biggest relief off of me. And also, the team members, like really having like a culture code of who do we want to have surrounded by us in our work environment too, and making sure that that's, like, I like to say, starting from the inside out. So having your manifesto, then having your culture code of who you want to surround yourself with in the team, and then the clients that you want to surround yourself with, right, to kind of build out that growth and that energy. But that's powerful. Yeah, very powerful. And learning, I also love that you said learning what you're good at and what you're not good at, because both of you were right. Like, you can't do everything, especially in the age of AI. That's why I'll call Jeremy anytime I need some really good PR. Like, I'm going to call you anytime I need somebody that needs a coach. Like, you guys are masters at it. And I'm just so excited to have you on here today, Michael. I mean, what an amazing way to kick off this show, The Long Game, which again, I dropped the link in the comments here for you to get the recording and the recap. So I'll drop both of them in there, as well as Michael's new single that you definitely want to check out. So make sure to sign up for that. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments as well. And Michael, it's been a joy, but I want to know more from you. What are you up to next?
I'm heading to, so this month I'm heading to Orlando for The Thing Orlando. So you can check that out at thethingorlando.com. So it is a pretty intimate conference that's specifically for thought leaders, for small business owners, for coaches, consultants, etc. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. So I'll be actually doing kind of like a small business version of the Power of Nope there at the conference. So that's coming up next, and then I'll be in Kansas City. I'm sorry, not Kansas City, but I'll be back in Omaha for a leadership event later this month as well. And then we have another film and another Christmas single being released first part of December that has some leadership implications on it as well. So
that's awesome. Well, if people want to follow along in your journey, what's the best place for them to find you?
We just launched a new website that kind of it kind of is a little bit more focused on keynote than coaching. So make sure to check out michaelkingjr.com and make sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to see what my companies are up to, check out TEAMS.Coach. So we have some amazing things happening in team coaching world that I wouldn't want you to miss out on, because it's been absolutely revolutionary with how we're transforming teams across the globe.
That's awesome. And Charlie is saying, can't wait to check out your site. And said, I love everything you stand for. Joanna said, I do love the saxophone analogy that you shared and would love the link. Got a lot of great feedback already on this. So we are thankful for everyone that tuned in with us today. Thank you, Jeremy, for your time. Michael, for your time. Just a reminder, we'll be back here next Tuesday, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next time, bring some friends with you guys, if you would, as well. And we will be back here, hopefully giving you more empowering things that you can do in your business, your personal brand for the long game. We'll see you back next week, everyone. Bye.